Kirtan is the repetition of something called mantras, and mantras are mathematical codes. They're broken up into syllables, and they have a certain effect on the body, just like the DNA has a code, just like the genetics have a code. Mantra has a code, and as you run that through the body, it elevates and harmonizes your being. Okay, well, my voice is calming because I've spent 50 years meditating and guiding people into relaxation. So there was one minister from the Agape Church, I don't know if you know Reverend Michael Beckwith, but one of the ministers there said, "Girl, you could be given directions via the 405, which is our main interstate." And she said, "I'd still be healed." Oh, well, I got into mantra and meditation before there were yoga centers. So I just heard some music, and you have to understand there was no internet. Yeah. So I heard some music somewhere, we had cassettes, I got that cassette and I listened to it. All of the words were printed in Hindi. I was getting the words all wrong, and I was like, wow, this is great. So that's where it started. I heard something, and that might be true for you too. You'll hear something and you'll be like, wow, there's something there. The mantras are very specific syllables that activate your heart, that activate your life. And so, my mom just died, and so I have a very real experience of how everything turns into one. And so, people are like, well, you have to bring Jesus in. And I'm like, if she sees it as Jesus, she does. And if she sees it as Krishna, she does. And if she sees it as a golden river, she does. And so, as you connect to source energy, each brain and nervous system will have a different way of interpreting it. Some will see blue, some will see purple, some will see a being. And so in the beginning, more important than getting the words right or being afraid that it doesn't mix with your current religion, Christian, Jewish, Sufi, like whatever, it's more important that you make a joyful noise. And so it's more important that you create some kind of connection to the whole universe. And so, my sister's coming and she said, "Can we dance?" I said, "Oh yeah." Oh, yeah. The main idea is celebration and connection into source energy. Let's see, the benefits of Kirtan are that it's a beautiful community, that, if you don't have a community, and especially if you're isolated in this kind of weird post-COVID time, it's a nice way to come together with people. It's kind of the way that India throws a party. So you come together and there's just like a mantra, there's some music, and each person can play a song or sing a song. And so it allows us to come together without needing to have a storyline. Oh, hi, what do you do for work? Oh, where do you live? It's like, let's just move beyond that, and we'll create joy together. So I've been watching beatbox championships, I've been watching breakdancing championships, and it's just like Kirtan. There's like this moment, and they're like moving, and they're doing the thing, and then all of a sudden they do like something, and everyone goes, whoa, and the whole room just like, that's like Kirtan. So it's like you're connecting to a joyful thing, you're doing it as a group. You don't need to know anybody. I'd say that's the biggest benefit. Like, I've heard people are like, why put your kids on timeout? Like, we're all the time on timeout. We're all completely isolated. Like, we need something new. Yeah. So, if your kids are bad this week, then just say, well, you're gonna have to go to Kirtan with Wa. think that yoga and all of its surrounding practices help you to remove yesterday. So, we used to say, or I used to say, do yoga until you're injured. It's a joke, right? Do yoga until you're injured, then start chanting. Then when you lose your voice, because you chanted so loud, then meditate in silence. So it's just a joke. But I think all the practice really, they help us to remove yesterday. And yesterday is kind of what sits on our hearts. Things that are unresolved, things that we hold on to, beliefs that aren't true anymore, fear of getting COVID, fear of family, fear that it's not going to work out, like all that's all yesterday. So it's like, how do you remove yesterday? And I think all of these practices help to do that, and they certainly have helped me. Body positive, like you start where you are. And it's like, I'll continually look at my body and be like, that's not perfect. No, that's not perfect either, And it's like, is that useful? It's like, okay, couldn't we just look at the stomach or the belly as like the availability of power? Like, couldn't we look at it in a different way instead of that it has to be flat? Like, no woman's stomach is flat. We have babies. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the end goal. The end goal is to allow life to move through you in whatever way that it does. And yoga, chanting, meditation, relaxation, they all help you to allow life to move through you. And then you're like, what a ride. I could have never dreamed this up.
Right.
No, Kirtan, it's not really Kirtan, it's devotional music is really what it's called. There was a festival called Bhakti Fest. Bhakti means devotion. And so devotional music exists in almost all cultures. And so, the Sufis, they have like a style of devotional music called Qawwali, which might sound a little like Kirtan, but it has different ornamentations, a little bit of a different beat. And the idea of the Qawwali is to go into trance. The Sufis are known for whirling dervishes. And so the idea is to just get so worked up until you just like move out, maybe similar to Christian music. The Hindu music is what I do. And so, those are specific mantras that activate, different energies that can be helpful to you. And, Shiva is more dissolving energy and Ram is more building energy, like that. There's Muslim devotional chanting, there's Jewish devotional chanting. It's there in every culture. There's indigenous chanting, there's the Aborigines, there's the Native Americans. So does it exist everywhere? I sure hope so. And if you haven't been able to connect to your roots, I always make a joke that they're not going to ask what race we are after a couple more years, because we've all intermarried, and so it'll just be race, and then you'll just check beige. So it's kind of the same with what we're doing here. You don't have to join a church, you don't have to do anything. It's just a way of being connected to nature and being connected to life. And if those words work for you, great. And if they don't, like, sing something else. I tell a story about being in Phoenix, and we were in a large gymnasium at University of Arizona, and the fluorescent lights for the basketball, whatever gymnasium thing, were oppressive. So we turned all the lights out, and they gave me a couple of lights right by the stage, so then no one could see the word sheet that I had handed out to everybody. And so I just said, well, just whatever you hear, sing it back. And so I was like, Jadam, Jadam. And so at the end of the concert, one guy came up and he said, what were the words? And I said, well, you first. And so it turned out that he was singing Dream On, Dream On. And I was singing Jai Ram, Jai Ram. And I was like, you got it perfect. That's exactly what it means. So, you know, everything translates in the end. Now with the internet, we can shop around for whatever we like, exactly the right, well, I want a little bit of Pilates with maybe like a relaxation, and like you can, like, you're terribly informed. We were not informed. We didn't know anything. Yoga wasn't even in the Yellow Pages, which was a phone book that you could look up to try and find like a business or something. Like there's no yoga, there was no nothing. So like I was writing down, you know, I was writing things down on a restaurant napkin, you know, like alternate nostril breathing from someone who had just come back from India. Like that was my yoga book, was a napkin from a restaurant, you know. So no, you didn't pick and choose back then. You know, if you were lucky enough that your life would run into someone else who had some knowledge, or there was some kind of gathering that you happened to hear about, then, you know, you went, and if it spoke to you, then you might go back again. But no, we didn't choose these things. We just prayed. We were called, you know, yeah. No, there's no level. There's no level with God. You come and you sing. The whole point of it is that you have a song in your heart.
Yeah.
We want you to sing the song in your heart. That's what Kirtan is. I managed an artist named Krishnadas for several years, and I would say he's the beginner. He can only play in one key, he has no musical training, he's an ex-drug addict, like he's a beginner. He's just like, I'm gonna chant the name. And he does it the same way every time, and it's just like, he's consistent and he's dedicated. So that's like a beginner. I'm probably more advanced because I went to a conservatory, I have all this musical training, I can play all these different instruments. So I know about Indian raga, I know about African music. You know, I explore a little bit more differently, and I might do more complicated mantras, although I probably won't do them. At Body Positive, we'll do simple things. If you've never been to a kirtan, expect to have to take your shoes off, right? Wear your best socks, or else just take your socks off. Some people sit on the floor. We'll have chairs available for those people who are not comfortable on the floor. Some people meditate, some people sing, some people dance. It's a very inclusive, joyous atmosphere. And, you know, I would just say, open yourself to something new. If you want to chant, you know, those words may feel a little strange in your mouth. Like, what are they saying? Sitaram, Sitaram, you know. But after you try it on for a while, you know, then you'll be like, oh, that's pretty easy. I just say, come and just pretend like you're coming to a Mexican wedding. You won't understand anything, but you'll have a great time.
That's great.
I am dedicating this kirtan to my mother. Her name was MaryKay Binder. She was a professional violinist. I grew up falling asleep underneath the music stands when she would invite her friends over to play string quartets. So, you know, in celebration of her, there has to be some music. This is the kind of music I do. She left by doing Yoga Nidra. We did guided visualization in the morning, following the golden path of light and the river of light, and, you know, she died in the evening. So it's like she's way tuned into us, and yeah, this concert is dedicated to her. She was amazing.
it's going to be such a beautiful honor to have her energy. I know.
Yeah, she came to the last one.
Last time she was here in body, and here she will be in most beautiful spirit. So what a beautiful honor to have her here.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.